remember seeing the first puck drop. Those emotions when a player scores. The cheers from the fans and the feeling when your favorite player shoots and scores. Your hockey heroes laced up their skates, taped up their sticks, and hit the ice. Remember the passion they played with, the passion you felt with every game, win or lose. Now, you can rekindle those memories with hockey players of the past. Get insights on how they felt on and off the ice. Hear interviews from coaches, referees, and thoughts from their fans. This is the Old Time Hockey UK podcast with your host, Ken Abbott.
Hi guys, welcome to episode 3 of the Old Time Hockey UK podcast, sponsored by Crazy Kenny's Hockey Shop. I'm your host Ken Abbott, and today's guest is former Sheffield Steelers captain Rocket Ron Shudra. I've known Ron for over 20 years. I doubt if he's changed one bit in that time. He still lives and breathes hockey, and is always so enthusiastic about the sport. Add to that, he's also a really nice guy. He didn't even mind when my dog Jake tried to muscle in on the interview, as you'll hear later. We'll be talking to Ron shortly. However, back to our sponsor. Crazy Kenny's Hockey Shop is your one-stop hockey shop for hockey equipment and NHL merchandise. Right prices, right service every time. Please visit www.crazykennys.com. And now, let's get straight on with the interview. This is the Old Time Hockey UK podcast with former Sheffield Steelers captain Rocket Ron Shudra. Hi Ron.
How you doing?
Who came up with the name Rocket?
Well, that was David Sims about 300 years ago. David decided to nickname a few. Obviously, he must have assumed that I had a decent enough shot to warrant the name of Rocket, and it all went from there.
Good marketing, actually, because even today, you mention Rocket Ron and everybody knows who you are.
Yeah, it does stick with you. And you get some of the old guys, hey Rocket, how you doing? Hey, what's up? What are you doing? Where are you at now? And it's kind of like, guys, seriously, that's a long time ago. But yeah, you still get called that by name and nickname, and it's always fun.
I'm going to take you back a long time ago to 1986.
That is a long time ago.
Yeah, to the start of your NHL career. You were a third-round draft pick by the Stanley Cup champions of the Edmonton Oilers. Were you expecting to be drafted?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you're into the junior hockey system, and I had a great coach back then in Ken Hitchcock, who was very well known even back then around the NHL circuits and stuff like that in junior. So, he basically, as one of the tools to get me into Kamloops out of the university route that I had, said, we will have you drafted this year, and it all went from there. You got a huge opportunity to play. I think I only missed one game that first year in Western Hockey League, and I got to play with some great players to obviously help me along to get me drafted as well.
So on draft day, how did it work?
Well, it's actually kind of cool, to be fair. I mean, you obviously have your agent or whomever. And depending on where they predict you, they'll either ask you down to the draft, or you may just stay at home, or whatever, or you're totally happy if to pay your own way down. But I was lucky enough. The agent said, well, you're going to go most likely in the top 3 rounds. It's looking like the New York Rangers are looking at you in the middle of the second round,
right?
Depending on obviously how it goes and who's still available and that sort of thing. But it's one of those. You get a phone call. Yeah, your plane ticket's booked, and you need to be down here in Montreal for this day, and take you down and put you up in a hotel, and with other guys that are in their stable, let's say.
Okay.
With everybody else that's down there. So there's a couple hundred guys down there at that point. A lot of them that obviously from the Western League, if that's where I was. Eligible guys that you'd known, that you played against or grown up with possibly as well. So there's quite a few people in the community that were down there in the hockey thing. So it was a pretty good time. And then obviously the draft day is you have the night before is a bit of interviews with a few teams and see what's going on. Not to the extent of what it is now. Now it's a
big event, isn't it?
It's huge now. Now they do all the combines and all this other stuff, and they do psychological testing and questions, and
wow.
It's more of a job interview than hey, how you doing? Yeah, what's going on? Yeah, I'm this. Oh, what are your goals? What are you looking at? How do you think you're going to play? Do you think you have the ability? What do you need to do? Whereas now they go they go into just about everything and anything about you, just to see the type of character and what you've got behind you, and where you're from, and what you do, and how your body's holding up, and all that stuff at 18 years old.
Yeah. Taking it to the nth degree.
They do, yeah. And then the morning of the draft, exciting day. You're up, you're nervous, you don't know what's going on.
So did they actually? I mean, like now, where they hold it in a big stadium. Was that the same?
Yeah, the same thing. Yeah, it was
right.
it was in the Forum. Yeah, in Montreal. Yeah,
right.
so huge facility. You're sat there, and it's like anything. The ice floor is covered in tables, just like you'd see on TV now. That with the draft day, everything is there. All the tables are out. All the media is there.
Wow.
The stands are full of people, parents, fans.
Yeah.
Obviously the players rooting for their teams, and you can hear them screaming and shouting when they, obviously if there's been a following of certain picks like they do now, they follow the first 10 picks sort of thing, and if your team picks one, then there's a big roar in that.
So how did you feel when the third round came and you were drafted by the Stanley Cup champions, the Edmonton Oilers?
Well, realistically, I was like, oh no, not them, because you look at the team and the roster that's there, and you go, oh my, look at all this. I've got this guy, and Gretzky, Kurri, Coffey, Messier, Moog, Lowe, Fuhrer. You go down the list and you go, oh my God.
Legends of hockey.
Exactly.
Now.
And not to mention they just won Stanley Cups and stuff. Sure. So you're going, what are the chances of me anywhere getting near of getting into this sort of thing?
Yeah.
Even in the next however many years with the players that were there, because obviously then they were still mid-20s. So they're all in the middle,
prime.
Exactly, in their prime. So you're 18, they're 25 to 27, and they've been around for 3, 4, 5 years already, and obviously very well established. So you're looking at the lineup going, wow.
So in the same draft for the Oilers was a guy called Ivan Matulik and a British guy called Tony Hand that went in round 12, the very last pick. Yeah. When you went to training camp, did you actually get to know these guys? Did you meet them? I mean, what was the
it's like anything. You have your inductions and your stuff and your fitness testing, and you're in the changing rooms with them, and you're having meals. You're put up in the hotel with all the guys. Right. We were just right across from the Coliseum. So we would all walk across together and walk back and forth, because most of the guys in those draft years, usually the first couple of years, you were in the same sort of fitness camps and fitness stuff, and so the 18-year-olds, the new guys were all together, and then as a rookie bit, you're on the ice a couple of times by that, and then you're mixing in with all the big guys, and you have different times to be on the ice and stuff. But so like again, a lot of the guys like that you would know from junior or whatever, but obviously Ivan and Tony you wouldn't know when coming from Europe, and that a lot of the other guys in that draft year, if they're from the West, we played against them.
And then you were, is it the minors? Would they call it the minors or the farm team?
Farm team,
the Cape Breton Oilers, was it?
Yeah, well, it was Halifax the first year, and then obviously after the first year they'd moved their system to Cape Breton. And
then in your second year with the Oilers, you played 10 games on D for them. Yeah. What was that like?
Oh, it's great. It was, obviously after the first year I went back to junior and had another fairly successful year there, and what Edmonton then did, because obviously it's not just the 1 year that they look at you before they drafted. They had known about me from 2 or 3 years being from the Edmonton area, so obviously there's scouts out here there and having a look, and they're like, oh, he played wing, throw him up on the right wing in your second year, because I played defense my first year in junior. Yeah. And that's obviously where I was drafted. But to say they went to Hitchcock going, we hear he's played center in the past, and he's played wing, and he's he way back when he went to a training camp with Portland when he was 14 years old, and he played center with a couple of guys there. Right. So they had known a lot of background,
history.
And they said, throw him up on the wing. Let's see what he can do on the wing. And then obviously on the wing, then I ended up with a very successful year, with 120 odd points. So they're like, wow, he can do a little bit of both. So obviously went back to camp, did a little bit of both in camp, forward and defense in camp. Got sent to Halifax, played again, mostly defense there. Right. And then when I got called up into Edmonton, I played the first game in New York was defense, and then another defense game, and then played wing. So it wasn't a big shock just to play defense, but it was a bit more of a shock that, all right, we're going to play on the wing now without any notice. You do pre-game skate as playing as a defenseman. It comes to the game. Oh, you're dressing, but you're playing on the wing with Crucial Niskely and McClellan. Right. Did you ever get to play on the same line as Gretzky?
I
did. Yeah. Had had a few shifts there, a few periods with that, and that was an interesting thing.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, well, you're kind of... It's like anything. If you go in anywhere nervous and not expecting to do this, that, and the other and be as good as they are, then you won't.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to go in there, and I say it to everybody now, and the kids that are all around, is you got to play where you're at.
Yeah, sure.
You know, if you're playing a junior B league, well, play the best you can in junior B league.
Sure.
You know, don't think, oh, I'm a junior A player, or I'm an 18A player. I should be playing 18A. Well, you're not at this time. So be the best you can at that to show that you should be or can be at that, and that's exactly what it is there. I mean, you know, you got the opportunity and you just played and played and played. And you know, it was great. I happened to be on there and had a shift with them and got a goal and got an assist with them. So it was great. Yeah.
I noticed you played 10 games and had 5 assists. Mm-hmm. Well, of course, that year they won the Stanley Cup again, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I think I was there for about 21 games or 20 games like that sort of thing, and got into 10. Sort of played one, then missed one, then played one, then missed one, depending on where we were or what the teams were on the road or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was actually taking Marty McSorley's spot.
Oh, right, okay.
Because he was injured.
Yeah.
Sometimes he was playing forward, sometimes he was playing D. So that's exactly what I did. I was in the same role as what he did. And it was kind of cool, definitely. It was very good.
And then after that was your only time that you played for the Oilers. Mm-hmm. There's a gap there from 87, 88 until you came to the UK in 90. Mm-hmm. So what happened between then and when you got to the UK?
Well, what happened is that after I get sent back down and obviously finished the season off in Halifax.
Yeah.
Next year, came back to training camp, again sent back. This was when they moved to Cape Breton the next year. I was only there about 4 games and got traded to the New York Rangers.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know you were traded.
Yeah, traded to the New York Rangers, and that's who were actually talking to me.
Sure. Yeah.
Who was expected to do it. It was Esposito that was there.
Yeah.
And he was doing a lot of the talking, traded for me. Ended up going into New York for a little bit and just meeting the organization and that, and then going off to their farm team in Denver and played 65, 70 games in Denver.
Right. So, I mean, when you traded, how did that work? Were you told that you were going to New York, or were you asked if you wanted to go to New York?
No, it was basically a phone call. Ron, the Rangers have traded for you. They were the ones that had discussed and talked to me.
Sure.
More like a draft. Edmonton never spoke to me at all. So whether, but then after the fact, you talk to them and say, yeah, well, we were really surprised that you were still available. In the third round.
Yeah.
So
we went
for you, knowing your background and that, and snapped you up then. But so that was what happened. Went to Denver for a year there. Went back to training camp with the Rangers.
Yeah.
And then obviously Denver then moved out into Michigan.
How did it feel having to move up sticks and move location? I mean, obviously that's part of a hockey player's job, but you're still a human being having to move. I think
it's a lot different if you've been around a lot longer, or you're married, you got kids, and things like that. Obviously, being 19 or 20 years old, sort of thing, it's not so bad to be able to, all right, okay, get on a plane and jump and go, or guys jump in the car and drive across the country to go wherever the next team is. It's a lot more difficult when when family and kids are involved, and then
of course,
then you obviously have to then look at finding different places where I got there, and I knew a couple of guys on the team already. Oh, we got a room, come on, you're staying here, and straight into the room and settled in right away. So it wasn't a major shift sort of thing, because again, it players that you played against in junior, so it was actually very easy to move.
I think it's difficult for UK hockey fans to have a concept of the distances involved, because obviously in the UK, Sheffield played Nottingham, it's a 45-minute drive. You're talking a distance of thousands of miles.
Can be, I mean, I had the opportunity to go to US college.
Okay.
I was actually enrolled in a U.S. college. I had visited their campus. I had Michigan State and a couple others that were looking at me and going down the college route. At that time, I was also on Saskatoon's protected list for Western Hockey League, of which I didn't realize that, because you don't know that until they'll contact you.
Right.
They'll mark you down on a list. Oh, we'll keep a watch of this guy. We've got him. And we'll keep.
But you don't know about it.
Well, I didn't know about it. I did. And I'd signed and sealed to go basically to the States. On a full scholarship there into business. 2 weeks before I'm going, Kamloops came in, which was Ken Hitchcock, who I had played midget against and Bantam against his AAA teams. So 2 weeks before the season, got a phone call out of the blue. We've traded for your rights. You are not going to college. You are coming to play for us.
It just seems like your life is not your own. All these strings are being pulled.
Well, I mean, we still had the opportunity and a chance to go to the college and say no, but that was the thing. This is what's going to happen with you this year. You aren't going to college. You're going to come here. You're going to play every game. You're going to get drafted. The rest was history. And played the year, missed one game because of an injury. And even then, they didn't want me to stop. They wanted me to play, so it would have been 72 games as a 17-year-old, which absolutely nowadays you just don't see. And it wasn't sort of the seventh defenseman. I was sort of the third defenseman.
Right.
I had the great opportunity. They had the faith in me to play.
Sure.
And they played me, and it was great. And I had the opportunity to have people watching and look, put in all these situations, on the ice, whether it's penalty killing or power play or regular shift, playing with this guy and that guy. And so that's really where I learned the game.
Memories, insights, and anecdotes of hockey heroes. The Old Time Hockey UK podcast.
Let's fast forward to 1990 when you came to play in the UK for the Solihull Barons. What led you to make that decision? Why did you want to come to the UK?
Well, what it was is at that time I was finished with my 3-year contract that I had. I had signed a 3-year contract with Edmonton. Obviously, it gets transferred over to the Rangers when it was in that summer. So my contract was up, and we actually had another contract on the table with Esposito, who wanted another 3-year deal plus like a 4-year, 3-year plus an option.
Okay. And
things happened in their front office, and he was let go, sort of thing. We don't want to say fired,
Gassed.
but yeah, something like that. And what the new GM did, he came in and he wiped all the contracts out.
Oh, right.
Wiped all the contracts out that were being negotiated and stuff like that, and brought in players that he wanted.
Yeah.
And so agent went, well, we're not sending you into any team without contracts and stuff.
Yeah.
So I was just waiting, and he said there were some offers on the table, and then came across the European thing. Simsy was looking for a defenseman because the guy that they had got hurt.
Yeah. And
said, oh, do you fancy going to Europe? And I was like, oh, don't know. What do you think? And he says, well, yeah, I mean, other guys seem to think it's okay and stuff, and have a start there and have a go. I said, sure, let's go give it a try.
So you arrived in Solihull, and what did you think when you got to the Hobbs Moat Road?
Well, I walked in, and David was beside me. I go, oh, this is a great little practice rink, this one, isn't it? Thinking, well, it is what it is. Well, you don't know what you're into coming over. Yeah. And to be fair, at that time, there was nothing really wrong with it. A little bit dark, but a little bit of netting around. Well, we had the same sort of thing back home. Ours were, where I played, it was sort of a mesh around the back and some glass down the side, and that was it. So it wasn't any different than stuff that we had here. So it was good. Walked in the dressing room, and he plunked me down between Ian Young and Phil Lee, the two northern boys, and it was one of those. And I can't remember who was
talking
across.
for a language.
Yeah, who was across? I can't remember who was across from me that actually could speak English. and these two are just are going at it with the big northern accent, and I leaned across the room and I went, what the hell did they just say? Because I had no clue, honest to God, what they had actually said.
Sure.
Just absolutely nothing. And the guys were laughing in the room at that. And that was on a Thursday. One training session. Then we went up to Hull on the Saturday. Got beat about 17-3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was like, wow, what's going on here? What happened here? It went to come off the ice a couple of times, and the door got closed on me. We don't pay you to come off the ice. I'm like, oh, okay, sure, no problem. Out we go again, and that was the way that I got initiated into British hockey.
Welcome to British hockey, young man.
Yeah, welcome. 17-3. Oh, thanks very much.
Obviously, at the end of that season, the Solihull Barons folded. And you moved on to Sheffield. Yeah. And again, how did that come about?
Well, what happened is they didn't actually fold at the end of the year. They actually came back, and we had signed a team to go for the next year.
Okay.
And then obviously through that, I think it was Benson Hedges way back then. We got through that, and then they said, well, we don't have the backers. We can't do it now. Yeah. We're going to have to pull out of the league. At that point, Ronnie Wood came up to Sheffield. Yeah. And seen what was going on there with David Gardner-Brown and everything. And the World Student Game stuff with the arena, and I actually went down Basingstoke.
All right.
Yeah, I actually started to talk to Peter Woods and went down there and had a couple of sessions with them, and Ronnie goes, no, you don't want to go down there. Come up. I know we have to start in the lowest league possible that there was, obviously the Division 2 Heineken, and it's going to be not a very difficult league as compared to being in the top league of it. But come have a look and see what you think, and then make your decision. Well, you drive up and all of a sudden come over the hill and
you see the arena.
Yeah. And you open up the door and you go, well, yeah, okay. I think I can handle playing here, the home games. I don't care about what the standard of the league is. Like I said before, you play where you're at.
Yeah, of course.
And you play to the best ability that you're at, and you go from there, because there were still some real good players in that league. Oh, there's some good British players coming up, some good imports that were there, and it was a competitive league all the way up to the end. So that's how we ended up being in Sheffield.
And of course, the arena was such a huge contrast to Solihull.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, and of course, that season within a matter of probably, I don't know, 6-8 weeks, you were playing to packed houses, 8,300 fans. What was that like?
Well, I mean, I think the first game we went away to Sunderland, I think it was, and then the next night we came back to the arena and we had 343 people.
Right.
Was the announced crowd.
But of course, with an arena like that, it's fantastic when it's full.
Yeah.
But when it's even half empty, the atmosphere, I find, is dead.
Yeah, it just disappears. It does. Yeah. That's very true. So you can imagine what it was like with 300 people in there.
Absolutely.
But again, the year started rolling along and going on, and obviously we did a lot of push out to schools and everywhere else, and to try and get out there, and we visited and did stuff with dinners and stuff with Barclays Bank, and we were all this other stuff to try to get. Sure. Try and get in and get our name out just like everybody else was trying to do. But we were very unique because we were the only sort of ice hockey team. There was the Queens Road ice hockey guys that were there, of which we brought that team across, and we joined in with them. The 3 imports, what it was, and a couple of guys from Solihull, but the bulk came from the Queens Road guys. Again, season rolled along. At that point, ticket was a £4.50.
That's right.
So it wasn't too bad. It wasn't a very, very dear ticket compared to now. I mean, even now it's what's 15, 16, 17 pounds some places. So we were in at £4.50, which is what everybody else was kind of doing around the league at that time, I think. But again, throwing out thousands of tickets to everybody. Come see us. Come see this. South Yorkshire Police here.
That's right.
There's a station just down from the arena. Well, here you go. How many do you want? Here, we'll give you 2,000 tickets. And same was, head offices. Here's 1,000 tickets. Give them out to all your staff. Give them out to your customers.
Get them in.
Exactly. Get them all in. Get them in. And slowly, week by week, you could see it going. But the turning point was Christmas time. I think we were down by a goal with a couple minutes left, and ended up winning in the last minute. And that's when it just exploded after that. And then it was.
I remember
standing room only. No more giveaways basically after that.
I remember that well because I was working as a manager for an electrical company in Sheffield. I transferred up to Nottingham from Nottingham to Sheffield, and I nipped in and seen Ronnie Wood, and he gave me free tickets for my customers. And it seemed like you're probably right. Christmas time, even I couldn't get any tickets. Yeah, you couldn't pay at the door because they were all sold out. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, because we left it as a general seating thing. We would have to push face-off times back and stuff. People would come down on the day thinking there's tickets, and there'd be 2,000 people trying to get into the box office, and people were sat there. It looked like a concert. People were down there 4 hours before the game in the car park,
right,
waiting for the box office to open to get in line to get tickets.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Yeah, and then obviously it turns into get season tickets and then everything else. That's and then it made it a little bit easier for everybody. Yeah. But after that first season.
How hard was it for you to coach and play at the same time? So, as you say, the first season you were the player coach.
Well, it's not overly difficult, to be fair. We didn't actually have an awful lot of practice time.
Okay.
Because at that point the arena was very, very busy, and we didn't have any connection with the other ice rink to get ice and stuff. Okay. And so we basically only probably trained when the ice was available at the arena. Yeah. Which was only probably a dozen times a whole year.
Sure.
So we didn't train an awful lot, but we did play. The guys that came over were the British guys that we have were of a good standard as it was. Anyways, they were more than capable of playing. Yeah. And then obviously we had Phil Lee and we had Tomo and and Woody and some all these other guys coming in that brought up the standard a little bit. And obviously you had the 3 import guys that were there, and that helped out an awful lot. So,
did you just hear that? I think my dog Jake wanted to ask you a question as well. He's barking away in the background.
He's having some fun looking at a cat or a bird wanting to go chase him.
Sorry, I digress.
No, that's fine. No, it's good. It's good. I've got my dog Ted at home too. He'll be listening later. They might be talking to each other. You never know.
You never know.
But yeah, the coaching thing was pretty good. We had some good, a couple of good imports there as well in Steve Nemeth, Mark Mackey.
Well, I was looking at the years between 1991 and 98. And the calibre of players you had there was incredible. I mean, from a trophy point of view, 7 trophies in 7 years, which was incredible. When I go through the names, though, you've got Steve Nemeth, Ken Priestley, Selmar Oderlane, Mike O'Connor, Chris Kellen, Rob Wilson, Tim Cranston, Tommy Plummer, Scott Neal, Les Milley, and of course Tony Hand and Ivan Matulik that we've already mentioned. I mean, a hell of a lot of personalities there. What I want to know is, who was the crazy guy in the locker room during that time?
probably cranny because nobody knew what the heck he was doing half the time. He's in the corner mixing his coffees and running around at 150 mile an hour and doing his thing. And he was just like a little whirlwind all the time.
Sure.
Come in quick in practice, and then out he goes. Okay, where did he go? What's he doing? What's happening here? What's happening with him? And everybody obviously had lives away from it, and he was one that would come in and just kind of go a bit crazy in the room and stuff.
Who was the guy maybe in the locker room before the game that fired everybody up?
I think we didn't really need anybody that was real super rah. I mean, we had some, like you say, we had some pretty experienced guys in there that had played in a lot of positions in a lot of leagues all over. Whether it was North America or over here, a lot of guys had played at the highest level. So they were pretty seasoned pros. You'd come in and everybody would give their all. Come on, guys, let's go. But no one would jump up and run around the room giving everybody a big whack. But the intensity guys were there. You had Tommy was very intense, and Kenny was very intense, and even Willie was. For as much as he joked around a little bit in the room and had some fun with guys and stuff. He was an intense guy.
Yeah.
So these guys they did bring an intensity back into the room. And there was some. Everyone was a leader on that team, let's say.
Right. Okay.
Nobody went out and tried having bad. There was no real bad nights because everybody pulled together and everybody played hard and everybody played focused.
Right.
And I think that was one of the main successes why we were successful.
What about who was the funniest guy you played with? Who was
God.
the joker in the pack?
Like I say, you always had a couple of pranksters and things and laughing and giggle guys, but Les was pretty good. He was kind of the serious guy too, but Les would do a little bit of fun stuff, and that whole sort of line, Tommy, Les, and Tim, they were very, very serious guys on the ice, but they could have a laugh and a giggle and a joke in the changing room and that sort of stuff. Even Mike O'Connor, we used to bug Mike O'Connor all the time about how we passed the puck and stuff. And it's like, Mike, I'm 10 feet away. You don't need to take a slap shot at my head for control some of that strength that you have, okay? And there was some pretty good dressing room banter in that, and taking the mick out of each and everybody. Everybody could do it all. Let's put it that way. That was why we were such a the core stayed together so long. Is everybody really did actually get along.
What about then the toughest guy that you played with or played against?
God, again, there's so many different ways of saying tough. There are guys that were real tough along the boards. There were guys that obviously dropped the gloves that were tough.
Sure.
You had Selmore, you had Mike Ware that would come in and we played.
Of course,
with.
Yeah.
So there were some very, very tough guys, and all of a sudden the NHL tough guys started coming over in B-Lock.
That's in the Super
League,
wasn't
in the
it?
Super League, and so there's lots of guys. Frank Kovacs was a nightmare to play in training. Because he played exactly the same way as he did in the game.
Right.
Going down the boards, it was a bull. So it was like, right, go on, where you go. I'm not going to let you run me over. Off you go.
Off you go.
In front of the net, he's hacking and whacking, and some guys, some guys didn't like it, and some guys were, some players can't play any different. And he was tough to play on the boards because there were elbows and stuff flying everywhere. But that's how we played the game. Very, very rugged and up and down. And right, okay, you want to stand here? Go ahead and stand here. I'm not getting into it. And but we did. Even Chris Kellen was a tough little son of a gun.
Yeah.
When he got going,
Is there a player you would like to hear on the show? Tell Ken now at oldtimehockeyuk.com or Facebook.com/oldtimehockeyuk.
I think now, it is much more of a business now.
Yeah.
Because obviously I think you've got more costs involved. In things and stuff, and there's more import stuff. More. I mean, there was players back then getting real good wages. Around the league, top British guys, because then obviously there were the transfer fees and things, and that were you're looking at guys going for £7,000, $8,000, £9,000, £10,000. You look at the Cooper brothers and even Phil Lee and place guys like these that were if you tried to buy them, the team, and that's why a lot of teams I think struggled with buying players,
right? Because
they didn't have the money, and then they were struggling during the year because we want to buy that guy, well he cost $10,000, sort of thing, because it went on, and same with all the, because it went on your GB experience or your England or wherever you played, or how many years you played in top level.
Well, that was something that's never really been publicised. It's like a transfer fee then.
There was then, yeah.
But it's like football; it's always publicised. Whereas in hockey, you don't get to hear about that.
No, you didn't get an awful lot of that. I mean, obviously the players knew. You look at Tony Hand when he wanted to go places. The experience he had, he was cost a fortune.
I can imagine.
But then the transfer fee thing went out with, I think, was it the Bosman rule or whatever, transfer fees or whatever. Somewhere around then,
of course,
transfer fees disappeared.
Yeah, because it wasn't only soccer and football. It applied to all sports.
It was all sports. Yeah, as far as I knew, it was everywhere you had to buy your players in, other than the import players. But your true Brits, they were ones that were transfer fees for.
Because again, a really top class Brit was a few and far between anyone, if you like. There's only a few top Brits. And okay, yes, imports could be brought in. Obviously in Canada and the States, I wouldn't say there's 10 a penny. You can't because you've got equality,
it's
but
true.
there's far more than
I think now too as well with there's a lot more leagues in North America and things, and there's a lot more places.
Bigger pool,
and so that ruling also opened up Europe
of course,
to come in.
That's right. Yes.
Whereas before it was a lot of North American based players that were there. There were a few Czech players coming in and things, but it was basically a North American style game, and that's what the British players grew up with. A bit more physical, and the core players were your British guys, because again they were the ones that had it wasn't a Sheffield Nottingham thing that just happened. It was the kids growing up playing against each other, or the Durham kids playing against the Nottingham guys, and when they played on the teams, now you get 2 or 3 of them. Those were the battles. Those were the ones, and the imports played. The imports just played, but the battles were all the British kids that were growing up playing against junior hockey.
The rivalries were there.
They were there from start, and then the rivalries built. Well, Sheffield Nottingham or Sheffield Cardiff or Fife and Edinburgh and these things. They were there because not the imports, because of the junior systems. So that's where they all evolved.
I never thought about it that way.
Yeah, that's where they all and again I always said it because we had some we did have some real good quality British guys. They were, and I put them as they're the heart and soul of the team. The imports you can bring in, but you have to. You've got your heart and soul, and those guys they will go out and they would go and go and go and
they were the nucleus of the team year in year out, wasn't they? Yeah. Imports would change, but they would be the guys that are always there. Going back to another question that I have, what was the funniest fan remark that you ever heard? Can you remember?
Oh, what was it? There was one. Oh, we got ice hockey in Sheffield. I thought that was played on grass. I thought hockey was played on grass. No, we're at the arena. We got ice. Oh, ice hockey. All right. Really? Did they do that at the arena? Did we even have an ice rink in Sheffield? I said, well, yeah, there was the old Queen, the old Queen's Road. Really? Yeah.
What about when you were actually on the ice playing the game? Did you get any fan remarks? I mean, obviously you must have done, but did you hear them? And
a lot of the times you don't tend to do too much, but there's a couple of times you get beer thrown on you or whatever, and you turn around and say, oh, just wait next time till I'm looking. At least I'll get a drink that way. You don't just throw it on my back. If you want to get rid of it, hand it to me, and I'll swig it and I'll give you the glass back. Or or they're giving you grief, saying, oh, you're crap, you can't do this, and say, well, you pay money to watch me, so you have a little bit of banter with it. I mean. Realistically, the best places obviously were Cardiff and Nottingham.
I was going to ask you
because they were on top of you with it.
That's right, yeah. And my next question leads on to that. What was your favourite rink other than Sheffield, and which was your least favourite rink?
I don't know. To be fair, I can't say I didn't like going in anywhere because every building was different.
Sure.
Like I said, they had the so-called hostile places, like which were your big rivals, which were Nottingham and Cardiff and places, even Edinburgh and Fife. We go up into Durham and Whitley Bay and Billingham, places like that. They're places you didn't really want to go. Whitley and Billingham, Whitley, the boards, you go up against the boards and, are the boards even behind me? And they had some tough players, and Mike Rowe going in there. And then, you go into Durham and they had the Coopers and they had Mike O'Connor and they had Brabant. And,
of course.
And obviously Blazer came in and was up there. So there's some small buildings. We're used to this big building, nice glass.
That's right. Yeah, the contrast.
Where you go into Durham and there's nothing down the side. Well, you're used to coming around the net and clearing pucks off the glass, and you come around the net. Ooh, we just knocked out 2 or 3 people, and you're like, oh.
Let's talk about the biggest rivalry in UK hockey: the Panthers-Steelers games. Why do you think those games were so special?
Well, I think he wants to answer that question, doesn't he? I think it's because we were always battling, top places in the league.
Sure.
And again, I go back to the British guys. They were always battling, and they had some great young British guys as well. And the battles, like I said before, that they used to have, and the imports, we used to battle it out pretty good with 80 and players like this. Garth Premack, when he came over, I played against Garth Premack. He was in Red Deer. Players like this that had intensity levels. You go in there with Kenny Priestley, Mr. Intensity when
I
he needed.
Heard he was very intense.
And guys just revved up for those games because they knew whether it was in Sheffield or in Nottingham, every inch of the ice is going to be a battle. You're either going to get hit, take a shot, give a shot, block a shot, get hit by a shot. Get yelled at, get screamed at, whether by the players, by the fans, by the coaching staff.
Yeah, so you're in Nottingham. You're in the cramped dressing rooms of the old rink. That is not the new one now, and it's minutes before you go out on the ice.
Yeah.
What would be happening there?
Well, we'd all just be getting ready, obviously, just focusing down on the job at hand, and at that point it was Alex and Clyde in there during the biggest years. I think that the rivalry was there. And
Alex Dampy, who used to be the coach.
Exactly.
Of the
So he had that sort of rivalry back with Nottingham because he was there, and now he's here in Sheffield, and with all that background, how that turned about and came about, and so obviously he wants to go in and win. So he all of a sudden his demeanor changes, and the intensity comes up, and the players were just you could just feel the building, because the building at that time would just start shaking.
Oh, absolutely.
Because everyone would
throgging.
Yeah, if that, it was absolutely jam packed, just like Durham. If there's a space, let's fill it with somebody or something, and it was absolutely crawling with people no matter where it was. And that's what made it. The atmosphere built on it, and going up the stairs, coming onto the ice, and all of a sudden, the atmosphere of our whole 25 or 30 fans that were in there behind our bench, and 1,000 or so or whatever it was that were Nottingham, and it was great. And then Nottingham obviously come on the ice, and the atmosphere went up again.
Everything erupted.
And then from then it stayed at that level. The volume in the building was at that level for a 2.5 hour game.
Well, that's right, and it didn't help, of course, that you won your first championship in Nottingham.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yes, thank you. Yes, and
we came from behind, I think, in that one, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Ken Priest's game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He was the one that turned it round.
He took the bull by the horns, and off he went.
Yeah. Well, at that time, myself being a Panthers fan was actually in Sheffield at the Ponds Forge. It was a live beanbag, and we sold the tickets from the shop, and in return I was allowed to take a stall at Ponds Forge, and I was the only Panthers fan sitting there watching the live beanbag with everybody else being Steelers. And of course, at the end of the game, everybody was cheering, and I just had to get up and go. I won't say I was upset, but at least I was able to sell programs and actually made some money out of that. So it had its advantages. But I remember that so very, very well.
Yeah, it was. I think we had. I can't remember if we had gone into Cardiff and we had beaten Cardiff. I think it was 4-3 or something. There was Tommy Plummer scored a winning goal with a minute or something left. And that was a huge battle the night before. And then obviously went into Nottingham, or it was the next week, knowing that if we did win, it was our league.
That's it.
So again, so now you're going into the biggest rival that you got. That both teams know what's on the line. One team obviously is like, no, you're not. The other team is, yes, you are.
And the Panthers were up by about a couple of goals.
I think it was about 5-3 or something.
That's right.
About halfway through the second period.
And Kenny Priest decided to do something about it.
It started going, and how the game shifted, I don't know. I don't know what happened or what. Because at that point, I won't say they were. From what I remember, I don't think they were fully in charge of the game. I think there was a couple of power play goals both ways, and there might have been a bounce one here, bounce one there, and being 5-3 halfway through. So it wasn't one team was dominating the other. It was up and down and up and down. And then I think Kenny got one, and then something else happened, and then maybe a power play to tie it up again. And then going sort of into the third period, and then it's one of those things. Whoever shoots last at that point seemed was going to win, and up he went and did the thing, and
the Steelers took it,
and we took it, and to be involved in a game like that, even though whether it was us that won it or if it was Nottingham that won it, the game itself was a good one to be in.
And then the following night, as champions, you went to Manchester in front of 17,000 fans, I believe.
Well, it was...
and lost, of course, because obviously the celebrations that you must have done that night.
Well, yeah.
night.
I think there was... we did a thing that was very interesting, let's put it that way. Yeah, we did not a lot of guys went to bed, let's put it that way. I don't know if it was Manchester or Durham. It might have been Durham. It was Durham, I think. We went up there. It was
Durham,
I think we ended up losing 10-4.
Yeah, that's right.
But again, we had just come off a huge high, back on the bus and back there, and it was beers and celebrations around. guys getting just basically poured back onto the bus to go back up to Durham. But where's the last place you want to go?
Yeah, absolutely, Durham.
when nothing's on the line anymore. When you go up into there, and they've got they've got all the big heavyweights there too that can play the game.
Yeah.
And going in there, and you're like, oh God, here we go. Do we really have to be all right? We're sitting on the bench, right? Young guy, you go, you go. And the penalty box was full all night.
Right.
I think at one point there was half each team in the penalty boxes.
Right.
Because it was getting out of hand, and they wanted to make the point and stamp and say, well, whatever, you're not coming in here and doing that, especially if you're celebrating. We're gonna do our best to. And to be fair, we went in and it was just a shell shock.
Right.
I think we got outshot by about 30.
Oh, wow.
It was something like 60 to 20 or something.
Sure.
And
So when was the Manchester game?
The Manchester would have been, because I know we ended up having a ton of buses and the trains were absolutely jammed, because obviously the trains went straight in, and there was about 8,000 of theirs and 9,000 of ours.
Right. I know it was a British record.
Yeah, it was just over 17,000 as well. And I can't remember if that was Super League or just before Super League.
Right.
Which year it was, but it was an intense atmosphere.
Right, it's a long time ago. I think both our memories are failing now.
But I do remember the game being there was basically our whole building.
Yeah.
We're in trains, buses, and cars going to Manchester. And
Sure.
with Manchester had their whole building, which was the 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 what they were pulling in, got together, and British record, it was on TV that there was 17,000.
That's right.
First time that facility had been full for a sporting event or whatever, and other than a concert venue, and it was jammed.
I'll research that and I'll put it in the show notes for the podcast.
And
anyway.
I'm sure. I think we ended up winning that one 3-2.
Right.
I think it was. I'm trying to remember, but it gets fuzzy after.
It's a long time ago.
It's a long time ago. I'm
sure.
old now.
Aren't we all? I'm older than you.
Just by a little bit. Yeah.
Sure.
Want more old-time hockey? Connect with Ken now on Twitter at OldTimeHockeyUK or on Facebook /Old Time Hockey UK and visit OldTimeHockeyUK.com.
Tell me, what are you doing these days, Ron?
This year, I've been coaching at Sheffield, the junior academy there for about 7 years, and took over this year as the academy head coach as well.
Right. Okay. And are there some stars of the future to be?
There are some very, very good players. It's the players that are coming out, not just out of Sheffield. I mean, you look around the Elite League now, not in Sheffield itself, but you look at Ben Bounds down in Cardiff. You look at Matt Toe. You look at the Haywood boys. You look at there's some very, very good players that have come out. Tommy Squires has come out of the junior system that are now in and around EPL or in and around Elite League.
What chances have they got for the Elite League when there's so many imports?
Well, it's like anything. When personal opinions is I think the import level is too high, but that's just that's being
my opinion too. But being about 8.
Yeah, well, I mean, I go back to look at it when the fans were all in, and there was 3 imports, and it was all the British guys.
Yeah,
the British guys were there. Everybody knew the British guys, and this that, and then the imports came in and out, and then it moved up a little bit with Bosman, and then a few more British guys went down a little bit, but then it went to Super League where it went. Well, Tony Hand, you're the only British guy in the league.
Absolutely,
or a couple, or the Cooper boys, and it really took it down.
Yeah,
or David Longstaff. These guys, they were the absolute elite guys, and that sort of wiped it all out. It took all the guys down into the next division, and then it's not really. I don't think it's really recovered since then.
Well, that's right. Now, surely, to me, it makes more common sense that the future of the game is got to be in the British guys.
There is, and for people saying, "Oh, there's not enough good Brits around," there's a lot of good Brits
Give them
around.
A chance.
Yeah, in the EPL itself, there are tons of good British players.
I always find with the Elite League now, with so many imports, if a team has a really good season, then the following season, those guys have gone. Mm-hmm. There's new guys, and it's no continuity. And I go down to see the Panthers now, and I don't know who these guys are because they're brand new.
Yeah.
Where before, because you had the nucleus of the Brits, you knew virtually everybody, and you got 3 guys coming in, maybe a reclassified one as well. Yeah. That's where the excitement was. But the rest of the team stayed virtually the same. Yeah. And it was continuity, but you don't get that these days.
Well, I think again you go back to it, and it's a business thing now, isn't it?
Exactly.
We don't want to develop players. We don't need to develop players. They can go somewhere else and they can do this. Well, if you're always sending them out to somewhere else to develop, what are you actually doing as a team? Go into Europe. Yeah. All the Swedish teams, they have their junior system's underneath them.
Sure.
And they develop players to play on their team. They'll take an elite bit. Right, these 15 guys, we're looking at these guys playing with our team in the next 4 or 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
If not, they'll play somewhere else in 4 or 5 or 6 years.
Right.
We'll have them develop to a certain standard. And that happens all over Europe, but it doesn't happen here.
Yeah.
You look at the Nottingham guys. They've got some decent British players.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Sheffield's got decent Nottingham. Yeah. Cardiff's got good ones.
But you get local guys coming in, and surely that's an incentive for the fans to come and say, yeah, he's one of us. Because that's how it used to be.
Yeah. You've got. If you think about it, you have a local guy come in, all of a sudden you got his friends, his family.
That's right.
His relatives.
Yep.
All of a sudden, instead of having, someone, an import coming in from Canada or Czech or wherever, who's he going to bring?
That's right.
If he's not an absolute standout, is he going to bring anybody in? Oh, I like him. He's okay. But look at little Freddie over there. He's brought in 15 people. He's got his whole family. They're in every game. Well, I'd love to push tons of players in. Nottingham ourselves, Swindon, Guildford.
Yeah.
We've all got real big development systems.
Right.
We've got just under 200 kids. Nottingham have close to that. Guildford, Swindon have, at Swindon's under 10, they've got 60 kids. That's 60 kids coming through. We've got lots of coaches down at Ice Sheffield. We've got 40 coaches.
Right. 40 coaches?
Oh yeah, we've
wow.
got 40 odd coaches down there.
I didn't realise that.
Yeah, with you've got under 10s teams. You got 212, 214, 216, 218 girls, ENL, two ENL teams. Right. So you've got kids throughout the age group with 100 and like I say, 170 odd players. So you've got lots of coaches.
Sounds extremely healthy down in Sheffield, though.
It is, yeah. I mean, it is very, very good.
Okay, so before we can actually conclude this interview, tell me, what are you doing these days, Ron?
Right now, we main occupation sort of thing is my wife Deborah and I. We have 2 blind businesses. We do an industrial side. And then we also do a domestic side where
that's window blinds.
Window blinds and systems and stuff. That's where I came from today to see. I was out doing a couple of fits and come in and did this, and so we do that. We've been doing that now for 10 or 12 years now.
But it's been a real pleasure talking to you, and thank you for coming on the Old Time Hockey UK podcast.
No, it's been great. Thanks for having us down, and like I say, anytime we're here and we're available.
I'll catch you later.
All right.
Before I go, I'd like to give a quick shout out to a few other UK hockey podcasters, to Panthers fans Jono, Paul and Aaron at Cat's Whiskers TV, and to Rob McGregor and his The One Puck Short podcast. I'll add links to both podcasts in the show notes. And finally, over the last few weeks I've been uploading images of hockey teams from the Heineken League era. So, if you're a fan of the Cardiff Devils, Durham Wasps, Murrayfield Racers, Peterborough Pirates, Nottingham Panthers, Sheffield Steelers or the Stretton Redskins, head on over to my Old Time Hockey UK Facebook page. Check them out, but be sure to leave me a comment. Until the next time, I'm Ken Abbott, and this is the Old Time Hockey UK podcast.
Thank you for tuning into the Old Time Hockey UK podcast. If you enjoyed the show, we would be thrilled if you could head over to iTunes and leave a review and rating. If you would like to receive updates on future episodes, please join our mailing list at www.oldtimehockeyuk.com. Old Time Hockey UK. The puck drops now.